Good evening, fellow ghouls and specters alike. It's your ghost host with the most, Tiki here.
and Blue Dragon 5, here to engage in some haunted holiday hijinks by trudging through the catacombs and dusting off the cobwebs to recount our spooky selection of Halloween classics.
So, light the jack lanterns, suit up, and grab the candy dish as we revive and recount tonight's spooky selection, The Tower of Terror. Ha 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 ha. Jesus, you peaked your microphone with that one, man.
Well, no, Tig, that was me doing a thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, the Tower of Terror, Dragon. This is not the ride. Greg, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to refresh my memory. I should know this. Have we ever actually done a full blown podcast about the ride before?
The ride, well, I mean, we've talked about the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, and I
Hmm.
mean, I don't. If we did it, it was during ride. Well, not rides. Wait, yeah, it might have been ride. If we did, it was during ride storming. Whichever one we do the history of the queue with, which I don't think we did.
Cue the podcast, actually.
Oh right, queue. Sorry, I'm saying you're right. Queue the podcast, not ride storming. But
No,
yeah, if
you're
we did,
right.
it
I
was
think
on.
we did do a Cue the podcast on Terror of Terror. I think
Yeah,
that is one of the. God, I need to revive
at
that.
the very
Anyways.
least, we did a queue the podcast on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which incorporated some Tower of Terror. So I don't know if we strictly did Tower of Terror or that, which
Gotcha.
incorporated
Gotcha.
some. So that's as close as we've. At least I've been there for what we've got. Anything else was on you.
All right, so yeah, maybe that's overdue to actually like kind of do a breakdown on all the individual attractions. There's a lot of I feel like much like the Haunted Mansion, an interesting thing about the Tower of Terror is that they're all slightly different from coast to coast. But alas, we're not here to break down the ride today. We're here to break down the 1997 movie based on the ride, which happens to be celebrating its 25th anniversary, not this month, but this year, so it's close enough. All right, so Dragon, I gotta tell you, man, I only saw this movie once when it originally aired on, of course, the wonderful world of Disney, and I gotta say, I love watching this with the very obvious breaks for the commercials and everything. It's kind of a throwback, but it didn't really leave much of an impression on me when I was a kid. And so rewatching it, like, we decided to do it basically because of the 25th anniversary of it all to add it to our roster. I got to tell you, Dragon, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but this was a pleasant surprise for me. I think it holds up quite well. Like, it's pretty obviously a TV movie, but what I like about it is I feel like, certainly I would argue that the first couple Pirates of the Caribbean movies are better films overall, film with a capital F. But this is certainly, I think, the best adaptation of an attraction that Disney's ever done. Like, and it's the first one they attempted. So they hit it out of the gate, like really, like I don't know, like Dragon. We've been talking a lot about adaptation recently, just in various contexts, and I think this is very strong. Especially on a rewatch, it really struck me just how clever the climax was worked into the film. How we essentially have, especially even down to little details like how the heroes are taking the maintenance service elevator and stuff like that. It really does do a good job of essentially making the narrative of the ride into a movie in as much as it possibly can, with the heroes basically being present day people who are kind of like going into the hotel based on the legend that happened pretty much verbatim. So with that in mind, I mean, I think there's definitely I do like the atmosphere, and of course you have the added benefit of this is the Dragon. They basically did what we've been pleading them to do with Galaxy's Edge in terms of like turning Batu into a shooting location for a Star Wars show. I genuinely think you could do that. Because we've got a lot of juicy exterior shots of the actual Tower of Terror, and it's great. So, anyways, yeah, this isn't anything like, it's not like classic cinema or anything, but as far as like a ride adaptation, and as far as a Wonderful World of Disney TV movie goes, this doesn't get talked about nearly enough. It's one of those weird things like Buzz Lightyear or Star Command that just kind of gets swept under the rug. It's not on Disney Plus for whatever reason. I would say it's a Twilight Zone thing, but there's really no references to the Twilight Zone in this thing at all, like barely even an Easter egg. So I don't know. Dragon, what's your take? I'm sorry, that was kind of rambly on my end.
Yeah, so yeah, this is the first time I've seen this movie, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I knew about this thing. I just never really, because again, the main reason I hadn't seen it is because it was like kind of like gone for the ages. Like unless you saw it when it aired on the Disney Channel, you weren't seeing this.
Which
but
I
thankfully,
did, yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think I've seen it like, hey, Tower of Terror, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. And I never did, and of course, end result. So yeah, I think this movie it has its charm, but I gotta be honest, there is not a lot of substance here. And I'm not saying, here's the thing, it reeks of TV movie, but that's not the kiss of death, because again, it has roots in Twilight Zone traditionally, which of course very TV's latent. So that's not necessarily a deal breaker or anything. But honestly, there is a sense that in getting rid of the Twilight Zone element, it is somewhat of a handicap the movie's dealing with, and it was a choice from the beginning. So it wasn't like, hey, we planned out for this and then it was stripped away. But no, it was like it was a choice. I suspect for rights issues of like, no, we don't. Michael Eisner being a little chintzy is like, no, I don't want to pay the Twilight Zone people. We're going to do it our way.
Especially because the Twilight Zone is owned by CBS, which is the former company that Eisner worked for.
So because of that, I'd imagine that's the main reason they don't have access to Twilight Zone. He thought, we're going to screw them. We're going to do the next best thing. We're going to get the Are You Afraid of the Dark guy. But I'll get there in a second. My point. So this movie is again. Obviously the setting's great. Like in concept, this thing this thing works, and it's a very simple idea. It's a ghost story in the Tower of Terror. I think we represent the mythology of the attraction, everything rather well, despite the lack of Twilight Zone. All that works for me, but I gotta admit, Tiki, the thing that really kind of stops me from really kind of like enjoying things beyond like the beats that I enjoy in this movie is the fact that the plot simply to me does not make a lot of sense. It's really hard for me to track.
It's not a good. No, I mean you're absolutely not wrong at all. I mean the logic of the ghost and the curse and all that.
Yeah.
And,
it just feels like we
curse in the end. All that is total bullshit.
So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of the plot is just it's either Swiss cheese or Swiss cheese.
That's absolutely what got me out of the movie as a kid. By the way, like ironically enough, I feel like as an adult, I'm more willing to bypass some of the issues because it's got mood and it adapts the ride well. But
yeah. So I mean, ultimately, that's where I'm at onwards. Like, it was kind of cool to watch and like see, like, oh, so this is the movie that they made. But again, obviously, there's a lot of substance missing. There's just like, and I'm not even looking for much. I think like if we just kept it to the core of like, hey, there's the like, hey, we just gotta get them up the tower. That's pretty simple, but we gotta throw curses and everything in the mix. It's like, really?
I feel you.
So that's where I'm at on. Okay, anyway, so a little bit of background on this. Nothing. There's a lot. So again, Eisner, the idea is Michael Eisner's trying to jumpstart the movies based on attractions. So this, I believe, was the first.
A Breck Eisner approved production.
A what Eisner production?
A Breck Eisner, his son.
Oh God. But I don't believe so. No. So Eisner's just trying to. You get Eisner's big claim to fame, like him trying to be the Bob Iger of his day. The big IP thing with him, if I recall, was that Eisner was the one who brought in the ABC money. I think I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that was like
quite a bit. He brought in ABC, he brought in Lucasfilm, he brought in the Muppets.
Yeah,
for better or for
worse. That's he kind of. To be fair, he kind of worked with Lucasfilm, but he didn't. Kind of as far as
but I'm saying like bringing Lucasfilm into the parks was a big deal, though. You got to because that. Like it pretty much.
No, you're right. I'm saying
he brings the job of reshaping the parks to be basically like hip and cool again because essentially with Disneyland especially you had that 1-2 punch of Star Tours and then Indiana Jones.
So the big takeaway is that Eisner was a media guy, and that kind of like got the ball rolling for Iger, in which Iger like fully did like the full grand sweep with that of like, okay, let's get all the media. But so that's the thing. The big feather in Eisner's cap, particularly getting to like the Muppets and Lucasfilm and such was ABC. So basically, it's like, hey, let's we acquired ABC, so let's do kind of a TV movie, but it'll basically be kind
Hello.
of the yes, hello, money, I love you. So just every time
Money,
he
I'm
go,
home.
just every time he walks into the bank, he just says he just goes into like the little private vault room and he just opens up the little little money container, little safety deposit boxes. Hello, money.
Oh god.
Before he takes what he needs and he puts it back. Goodbye. No, but seriously, it's the fact is like, hey, I got this thing at my disposal. Before we go into the full movies and everything, let's baby step it. Let's squeeze a little bit out of ABC now that we got it.
Uh-huh.
So again, with Twilight Zone off the tail, presumably so he didn't have to deal with CBS, he brings in DJ McHale. DJ McHale, he did Are You Afraid of the Dark, which is very much in reverence of Twilight Zone, kind of Twilight Zone-esque tales, but kind of for the 90s generation. So,
Sure.
It makes sense. Like, let's get a guy who loves the Twilight Zone. If we can't get the actual thing, they filmed at the actual attraction. So they filmed at the Florida attraction for pretty much the interior shots. I don't know if it's every interior shot, but at the very least, all the familiar shots of the tower that you see from the ride, from the queue, and
You
everything.
mean exterior, not interior.
Are you sure? Because I could have sworn they did some interior stuff, like the lobby.
There might be a couple shots. The lobby probably.
That's what I'm saying. The
A
lobby, at the
lot of
very
the
least.
stuff in the interior is not the ride, though.
Okay, well there you go. Well, definitely like isn't the
But
gate
most
like
of the exterior is the ride, I would guess.
yeah, isn't the gate part of the ride too with
Yes,
what they did here?
yes.
Like that's what I thought. So basically, okay, so exterior and possibly the lobby. There you go. The
Uh-huh.
point being, they shot at the attraction at least for some
And
of
if
it.
it's not the actual lobby, it's at least a close approximation of the lobby.
Yeah, but without the awesome Twilight Zone Easter eggs.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why it might not actually be the
Yeah,
lobby. Yeah.
fair point.
So,
Anyway, so they filmed at Florida for at least part of it. Infamously, as you and I came to find out, like, yeah, this thing is like unfindable. Like you'd think, hey, Disney Plus, right? But of course, Disney Plus, they hide all the good stuff and all the gems, all the diamonds in the rough. Where's my Fillmore? Where's my Legend of Tarzan? And where the heck is Buzz Lightyear of Star Command? I keep writing all the letters. I get so much, I get writer's cramp. But we're gonna move on from there. So,
I honestly think Fillmore is probably the most unforgivable out of all of them because it's such a good show and it fills like multiple demographics.
yeah, pretty much.
Anyways,
And of course, and again, we're here talking it for the 25th anniversary, which we're a little early for, but still, we're there, we're ahead of the curve.
all right.
Yeah. All right, let's talk it.
Okay, so Dragon. First of all, I need to ask you, how familiar are you with the ride? Like, as far as like, have you gone on it? Have you been like? Because I know you're a Hollywood Studios guy.
Yes, I am a Hollywood Studios guy. No, I have not been on it.
Have you been through the queue at least?
No,
No. Okay.
not in person. I've seen the queue. I've not been there in person.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, like, I mean, I know you don't plan on going there anytime soon, but you could go through the queue and just not do the ride, right?
Ah,
Yeah.
no,
Anyways,
I didn't know that. No.
I mean, it's a worthwhile endeavor considering how detailed the queue actually is. But just saying. Anyways,
All right.
so one thing I want to bring up right away, Dragon, that I really appreciate is the idea of the Tip Top Club. And now it's not a major part of the ride at all, but it's always been kind of like a really cool little detail. Essentially, all you see is, you basically just see it listed on an elevator directory. And it's always it's one of those cool little Disney details that just kind of sparks the imagination, right? I've actually been kind of low key obsessed with the idea of like this swanky big club on the top floor since I was a kid. Honestly, like I remember in middle school, I did a computer project where I designed a Tower of Terror themed website, and it was basically like a a really, really bad point and click adventure style game. The whole point was to kind of get to the top floor and get to the tip top club. So I really appreciate the fact that they took that one little Easter egg in the ride and basically like stretched it for all it's worth. And I really do feel like some of the best stuff in this movie takes place within the Tip Top Club, as far as like the atmosphere and the 1930s vibes and everything, and the big band.
Yeah, I loved starting with kind of like the jitterbugging of 39. Like that was great. And that's the thing I love it. We set up everything really nicely. It actually does take place on Halloween, which suits our purposes perfectly. You know,
Which is the detail on the ride as well.
that's cool. But yes, that's what I'm saying. I think we establish everything on the ride, rather, rather nicely. The fact that we have like the five people that are in the it's five, right? Like the people that walk into the elevator. You got the bellhop. You got we have Gilbert. We have Gilbert, Carolyn, Sally Shine, Emmeline,
Uh
and Dewey the bellhop. So we got those five.
Gilbert is I like to call him low rent John Cleese.
Well, see, here's the thing. It's so funny to you because again, we're watching it all in the same kind of crappy cockpits on YouTube.
Uh
For a moment, I thought, "Wait a minute, is that John Cleese?"
right, right.
It's the darndest thing. So we have a few familiar faces kind of in the early years here that I kind of know from other things. Like for example, the guy who plays Gilbert, that's Alistair Duncan. Alistair Duncan, he's Alfred in some of the he was Alfred in the Batman Long Halloween, Batman versus
Oh, nice,
Dracula, and the
nice.
Batman animated show. He's great. So he was, and also Carolyn is portrayed by Melora Hardin, who people know from The Office, and Monk. She's Monk's wife, the deceased wife, and Monk.
And of course, probably the most famous person in the movie, Kristen Dunst, and I believe her first role.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is an early one, if not her first role, and then you have, of course, Gutenberg, kind of more on the decline, but he's there.
But yeah, Gutenberg in this movie very much feels like, yeah, we can't afford Jeff Bridges. That's what it feels like, honestly.
That's a
The character feels like it was written for Jeff Bridges.
Such a cruel way of putting Gutenberg's career. Oh, we couldn't afford Jeff Bridges, so we got Gutenberg.
But tell me I'm wrong, though. Tell me
I
I'm
know
wrong.
that's the thing. Though, Tiki, you're right. It's kind of a cruel. It's kind of a cruelly honest way of putting it. God, but that's like so. What was one cameo we really should have gotten in this movie though?
Huh.
Gilbert Godfrey. We should have put him in this movie.
Yeah.
They did all the promotional stuff for Tower of Terror. They should have got him in.
That's true.
Something. But let's see. Oh, we have a comment.
Yeah, it's saying the movie came out in 1997, the same year as Anastasia.
Yes.
So, indeed.
So, let me tell you a problem I do have. As much as I love how we're getting the mythology right, using magic versus the prime example of what we
Just
anyway, right, well, yeah, all right. So, what was I going with this? All right. So, the drawback of not having the unexplained kind of like fifth dimensional twilight zoning, like we don't know why these strange and ominous and unexplained things vibe happens, is we get two things as a result of that. We're using magic with the lightning instead of just unexplained lightning strike and like fifth dimensional energy most likely just kind of happens. Which, by the way, is always kind of looking back on it is like the cutest thing because with Gilbert Godfrey doing all that marketing for Tower of Terror, is the fact that he plays a fifth dimensional imp as Mr. Mixia-Spitalik in Superman the Animated Series, and the fact he's kind of linked with. I thought that was just so cute in that marketing stuff. Regardless, but you see what I'm saying, though, roundabout way here, is the fact that we take the unexplained nature of the Twilight Zone, which is kind of the charm, and we have to fill it in. They felt they had to fill it in with something, which gave us and it was a magical witch's curse, or like a magical curse.
Unequivocally, I think the magic is the weakest part of this movie, just hands down, without question.
So even if you can't say the Twilight Zone, it's like, do we need a mystery at all with this?
No, you really don't. Honestly, the one thing I will give it is that I do appreciate. I feel like this movie does lean pretty damn hard into the red herring of it all.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that. I appreciate a good red herring twist, and I think this movie pulls it off pretty well. The only problem is that I don't think first of all, I think the twist is probably revealed a little bit too early. I don't even I feel like there should have at least been a little bit more doubt with the nanny, because the nanny just basically pops up no, I love the girl and I would never harm a hair on her head. And it's yeah, that's just kind of it. And it's you know, uh, and then I don't know, I feel like there could have been a little bit more mystery to it. But the bigger thing, of course, is the fact that yeah, we make the actual villain into a witch, and we have stupid, complicated magic with vaguely Pokemon style rules of the power of love heals the curse at the end of the day and all that. That is all bullshit.
I mean, really, for me, at the bare minimum, if we're gonna do a curse thing, they could have done, it's a very simple change, Tiki. If we just could have said, okay, so we can't have the Twilight Zone be the reason for the
Uh-huh.
mysterious thing happened, and ergo we now have ghost stories. Okay, unexplained, as we don't care about the who, but it was rumored a curse was cast upon the tower, upon the Hollywood Tower, and that's why
Yeah, I
basically
mean,
that.
honestly, Dragon, a lightning bolt striking an elevator shaft
Yeah,
is a fucking weird enough thing to
yeah.
happen to base a haunted hotel around,
I mean, giving mythology to the hotel is one thing, and that works. That's fine. Say, okay, a curse was placed upon the land or the hotel, and that's why
uh
this happened. That's fine, but
I
don't make
mean,
it
the Tower
no,
of
it was a
Terror is basically based on the Cecil Hotel, so it's you kind of got to look at it in that
wait.
context.
Is it really based on the Cecil Hotel?
A little bit, yeah. The actual the concept of it, the concept of a haunted hotel in Hollywood that was that used to have a glory days to it in the 19 in the golden age, but has
Hmm.
since fallen on hard times. Yeah, all that's based on the Cecil. Yeah.
Well, also just talking about the Cecil and everything, because there is somewhat of it's a vague Cecil vibe. Only murders in the building, Tiki.
Yeah, I know. I need to get to it.
Just a little reminder in your ear.
I know.
So, but yeah, that's the thing. Of course, it's making a really petty vendetta. Like no one went to my birthday party.
Oh no, that's the thing. It is absolutely a fucking Maleficent level petty vendetta
The
for sure.
dumbest vendetta I've ever
Dragon,
heard.
actually, now that I think about it, this didn't even dawn on me until now, but it's literally like a reverse Maleficent.
Hmm,
Because Maleficent, her vendetta is that she didn't get invited to the party, and this girl, her vendetta is that nobody came to the party.
God. I mean, it's sad, but the idea is well, wait, weren't you supposed to go up to the floor with everyone else? Maybe they were throwing you a surprise party.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
I,
that's
I
just
actually
utterly.
think probably the most unintentionally funny moment in the movie is when she just realizes, oh no, don't say that.
I mean, there's a lot of dark implications that we're not talking about here. I killed my sister for
Yeah,
something
no,
so
totally,
stupid.
totally.
I mean, that's the thing. It's no, she's a ghost. I want her fully gone. It's not enough that I killed her. I want her all gone. It's yeah, people are still gonna laud and miss her, even if you just get rid of her, because they don't believe in ghosts anyway. It's we're not living in the Ghostbusters world right now. Come on.
Right, right.
Anyway, that's a different haunted hotel. So let's see. So again, we kind of talked. I mean, do you want to say anything else more on the ghost specifically, or should we talk about the goot?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do want to break down a couple of the ghosts. Most notably, Dragon, I want to talk about the bellhop because
Yeah.
uh, I do think he's really good, and I really do. I honestly think my favorite dynamic in the whole movie is the dynamic between him and his great grandson, and and especially because they have that kind of classic sort of old school comedy team of the very large man and the very small man. But
Yeah. But
but one
but
small nitpick. I do think the characterization, I wish there was at least one nod to how the Tower of Terror bellhops act on the ride, where they're very much sardonic and sarcastic, like it's good of you to drop in. You know what I mean? Kind of
You
like
mean
that.
it's less sorry, it's more like a macabre sense of humor, because
Right, right. Like I do wish that we would have at least gotten like it didn't even necessarily have to be a full character, but even just a nod to something like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe, but they were going for kind of like. But think about how cool this was. The fact that poor Dewey here, Dewey the bellhop. The fact that this guy, it's the bellhop, the elevator operator who blames himself for like, was the one thing I was supposed to do, and I got
No,
everybody
I think
killed.
he's a really good character for sure. I actually think like as far as the writing goes, like I said, him and Q, ironically enough, are the
Yeah,
best written characters in
I
the movie.
agree. Honestly, I think the MVP moment in the whole thing for me, it just kind of warmed the cockles of my heart. I got to be honest, in this kind of cheesy TV movie from the '90s was
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on. The what of your heart?
the cockles of my heart. You never heard that expression?
I've never heard of a cockle. What is a
Yeah,
cockle? Please
I don't know. It's like
educate
the
me.
deep. It's
Dragon,
like
educate me.
it's a synonym for like the deep recesses. The worms
Oh
like
God. All right. Okay. Okay. Anyways.
All right. Anyway, well, look it up.
All right. All right.
Not right this second. I was saying in
I
general.
know.
Look, regardless. But no, the moment was I used the fact that when Q is very reluctant here, and then Gutenberg kind of brings it home. They're showing like this is why you get the goot sometimes, kids.
Mhm.
This is why you order the Gouda, so to speak. It's just the fact that he says he's counting on you, Q, and it's just the fact that like your grandfather's counting on you, Q. It's like, oh man, he could kind of redeem the family. He could help out his grandfather. If this task were put to us, how do you say no to that? It's like, oh, it's an awe-inspiring moment, isn't that nice?
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
Loved it.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk the goot.
The Goot.
So yeah, like I said, I honestly think that the plot with him and the whole like being the reporter, like I guess it makes sense as like a character to bring into it. Like I think it makes a little bit more sense than like Eddie Murphy being the real estate agent who wants to flip the haunted mansion. You know what I mean? I at least think it makes more sense than that. It's a more natural fit than that. But I don't know, man. There's like I said, there's just something so low rent Jeff Bridges about this guy, and he just like it's just such a stereotypical, like a literal slacker uncle role in the night. Dragon, it feels like the most stereotypical, like slacker '90s average white male lead character that I've ever seen in a movie.
I mean, I'll admit, I do think it's somewhat clever, the idea. Okay, so this guy he's a kind of a disgraced reporter because he reported on something that ended up being false. So now all he deals in are false stories for like the National Enquirer, the
You know
National
what's
Inquisitor.
interesting is that I kind of felt like the movie sort of like played the cards a little bit too close to the vest as far as like the actual backstory of what got him fired. You know, the whole thing, the scandal with the what is it, the mayor, the police chief.
It was like I think it was like a mob thing involved, like a mob corruption story, and it was revealed to be false.
So I, I honestly thought that was like a really weird, clunky thing with the script. Is the fact that I just think, frankly, for a TV kids movie, that's just way too complex to throw in there. And B, the exposition for that just kind of gets haphazardly thrown in the middle of the movie. I feel like that's kind of like important information that you probably should. You know what I mean? It's like you're not fucking David Fincher or something. Like you're like, what are you trying to do? Like withholding information like that from the audience in a 90-minute TV movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it feels more
It's like
like.
a little too big for its britches.
I mean, honestly, it feels. I mean, you're not wrong, but I think ultimately for me, it feels more like it's kind of like. Sorry, it's a little like it's the fact that it's not so much that it's a mob thing. It's just the fact that it's like really this is are we gonna really make the big issue for this guy? Like, are you gonna help the ghost that people that on the outside really don't believe in, yet we're believing in this case of like old woman killed her sister? We wanna uncover this, and this is your big moment. Real story in which like, well, this lady doesn't even believe in the ghost angle of the story. And like, no, you have to help the ghost. I don't know, it's
Mhm.
the whole like the whole like you're gonna pick the real life over the ghost.
Right, right.
I don't know, just that's the thing that's gonna rub me the wrong way. I mean, the mob thing, you're right, though, was kind of like a late detail again. That was kind of an important plot thing, and if so, it's a little high concept for an audience. I don't know. But yeah, man, I did think it's kind of cute. This like starting this guy off as somewhat of a con man. Is the fact of like, yeah, I'm doing the Inquisitor things with my niece, with Anna, and just putting her in like the alien suit and everything. That was a creepy transition, by the way, because you're thinking for a moment like, wait, are we bold enough to show like a smoldering corpse? Like, no, it's like an alien costume.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of a cool fake out for a fake story. All right, so our ghost effects. We should talk about them.
It's not much of an effect, honestly.
Well,
Like, how
by
would you
I
even
don't mean
describe it?
specifically. I don't mean specifically them. I mean when we introduce them, we have like a headless guy with a meat cleaver. We have like a little girl in the rainstorm. We got like like stuff like that. We have the
Sure,
elevator thing.
like I feel like it's that kind of stuff is really just in the second act, just kind of to build up the mood. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's very "Are you afraid of the dark?" appropriately enough.
Mhm. I think the
I don't know. I
coolest.
just feel like it's weirdly like kind of inconsistent. I'll tell you one thing: the ghosts. I do actually kind of like the twist that we have with the the actress kind of coming in and scaring away the real actress that was going to stand in, and all that I felt was good characterization. The actual effects, though, I don't know. They're fine. I think they're a bit dated.
You don't happen to remember if Melora Hardin, if kind of our ghost who was pretending to be the actress, do you recall if she like arrived via cab or not?
I don't think so. I think she just kind of like walks in.
I would hope so because it would have been really inconsistent. Like, wait a minute, hold how does that work?
Uh huh. Uh huh.
So I mean, that's the thing. I kind of question like how she should have. Honestly, ultimately, why did she have to pretend to be an actress? Did we have to like? Did we, why did we do that?
Right. Right.
I don't know. Like a model, essentially. I don't know. But
Again, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like whoever wrote this script, Dragon. I actually kind of want to look up the
I
screenwriter
think it was the director. Honestly, I forget if he also I forget if he also wrote it, but I don't know.
because it honestly feels like he got a little too ambitious with some of this stuff. Like I even feel like if this was a 2 hour movie as opposed to a 90-minute TV movie, he could have like fleshed out some of these plot twists a little bit better.
Yeah. This is gonna sound really silly just to bring it up. Two of the ghosts look like gender swapped actors to me.
Really.
Yeah, so the nanny looks like Glenn Shaddix in a dress to me,
Oh God. Oh
and
man.
the bellhop looks kind of reminds me of remember the old woman from Poltergeist.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
kind of like a
Absolutely.
swapped version of the little old lady from Poltergeist.
Oh man, that's crazy.
I know, right? Right. But I think the coolest ghost effect, though, I think in the movie was like when they tried to put the fear of God into Kristen Dunst. She's up against that elevator with like the hellfire coming out of it.
Mhm.
That was pretty cool.
So it seems like this dude has really only written Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes.
Was it the director as well? Is he the same guy?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. So that's the thing. So ultimately, things boil down to our main plot at its core does track the whole fix the elevator, get to the party, can't use the service elevator. Pretty straightforward. Okay, you do that, ghosts get closure, they ascend, and we're all good.
Yeah,
But
so I really, really appreciate the fact that at the end of the day, the climax and the ultimate goal of the movie is very, very lockstep with what actually goes down in the ride.
yeah,
Like, I think it gets it more close than any other of Disney's attempts for a theme park adaptation. I really do.
of
Like I said,
course,
Pirates of the Caribbean, the first couple movies are way, way better films, like by all means. But like I don't think that either of those films tried to just full on like one for one recapture exact. I mean, besides like the obvious visual homages in Pirates, like the jail cell is probably the most obvious one, but besides those little nudges, there's not entire sequences that are like for example, there's not like a one for one pirate ship versus the fort battle. You know what I mean? Anyways, So yeah, I do really appreciate the attention to detail as far as just the plotting and getting you to that climax. Like I said, the magic itself isn't the strongest. It really isn't.
Yeah, that's a
But
thing. Like our mystery plot really just does not like little Layla will reveal like, hey, she did all this, and Abigail's actually evil. Like someone chuck a rock at that old lady before she does some bad stuff. Like
right,
how is
right,
this her?
exactly. Yeah.
You
So,
know, because Halloween's on my birthday.
oh my god.
Now,
My
of course,
great grandmother who lived to be like 107, her Halloween, her birthday was on Halloween.
did she hate the Tower of Terror by chance?
No, I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting though, the fact that she lived that long and, just the Halloween birthday of it all.
Hmm.
Anyways,
All right. Yeah. So I want to mention this. Q. Of course, I loved Q. He was played
you
by
was the best person in the movie, hands down.
he's played by a familiar actor. He's played by Michael McShane, who was FDR in an episode of Seinfeld, which
Oh,
always kind of
jeez.
stood out because he was. There's this episode. I don't know if you ever heard about this episode. There's an episode of Seinfeld that was structurally is an episode I really would sell you. It's entirely done backwards.
Oh, no.
So like they did. It was like I forget what storytelling measure. There's like a nickname
So
for
it's
that.
like a memento.
Essentially, it was Memento. I think it had to be. I forget what year Memento. Do you remember what year Memento was? Was that '98 or?
I want to, no, it was like, I want to say it was like 2002.
Yeah, you're right. It was 2000. Because yeah, this is pre-Memento. Yeah, so yeah, this is Memento before
Fucking
Memento. Still,
Christopher
but
Nolan's watching Seinfeld and he's like, my God, I've got it.
yeah, so that's the thing. This episode, I guess, infamously for the people watching, it's like it started at the very end of the episode. Basically, as it went forward, it would kind of take you all the way to the beginning of the episode. So it was kind of it's
Oh,
a very heady. Point being, there's a subplot in that episode in which Kramer gets into a feud with this actor with FD, whose name is FDR, which is not Franklin Delano Roosevelt, it was something other ridiculous acronym.
jeez.
And, and the idea is Kramer wished him, he wished Kramer would drop dead. And he kept trying to do like all the classic wishing things, like he tried to do the wishing bone, he did the eyelash wish, he did the whole, like the bird. He tried to hijack Newman's birthday wish. It's like a whole ridiculous thing. Anyway, point being, this guy being the caretaker and the grandson of the bellhop. It was quite a good thing. Very much the idea of this guy he loves the Tower of Terror. He loves this Hollywood hotel. He wants to reopen it. He wants to bring in the business because it's a really nice place. But he's got to dispel this whole 60-year curse thing.
Dragon, he's essentially like you as far as like, he can appreciate the architecture and the history of the ride, but he's not brave enough to actually go on it.
Pretty much, yeah.
No, seriously, I do feel like there is some element of like you know, audience stand in there as far as like he's too scared to go into the hotel, and part of the plot like is working up the courage to go into the elevator. I don't know. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
reading
no,
into it a little bit.
yeah, the idea this guy has kind of like a legacy of failure that he's kind of contending with, where ultimately what he needs to do is he needs to fix that darn elevator. But of course, I just love it. Keeps, can't we use the service elevator? No, it has to be the grand elevator. No.
Hmm.
We try using the ridiculous idea. It's like, well, we tried using the stairs and we kind of pooped out at 11.
No,
It's
I
like,
like the
really?
idea that they've tried a lot of different combinations of things, and they're just kind of out of ideas at this point.
Let me ask you something. Do you think they manifest only at Halloween, or do you think it's like they're there 24/7?
I mean, I don't know, like I think they're just there 24/7, right? Because the movie isn't a 24-hour movie, right? It doesn't just take place over one day. They return to the hotel multiple times.
It's a good point.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
I would
right.
think it's just 24/7.
Yeah, it has to. Okay, that's good. Okay, that clears that up. All right. Also, I love that we kind of set up the Q's like the guy who can get anything. That's why he's called Q, quartermaster. Very
Do you
Bondian.
feel it? Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be a Bond
Well,
reference,
no, of
right?
course, Of course, it's a
Yeah,
Bond. Every time you call a guy Q, that's a direct Bond thing. Even
right,
before,
right.
I could be wrong here. I'm pretty sure
Or
Q was in
Star
a.
Trek, or Star Trek.
No, don't get it. Get that off. Come on. No.
Honestly, the only reason that's even on my mind is because of the blanket review. Like, and then it turns out it was a prank by his old pal
I
Q.
mean, you remember Q though, right?
Yes, I know Q.
How
Yes,
cool is Q, right? I know.
he is
Even
kind of cool.
I mean, I'm not even in the Star Trek at all here, man. But I got to, I can appreciate how
I
great
know,
John
Dragon,
Delancey
I'll put
is.
it this way. I know of Q. I don't even think I've seen a single full episode with him in it,
Well,
though.
not
So I
well,
don't really
neither
have
have
a full
I. I'm
opinion
just saying, John
on him.
Delancey, great actor, and just this, the whole like playful Q thing, like, oh, I know more than you,
uh,
Jean Luc. Yeah, that whole thing. Anyway, let's see.
He's
So,
a villain. Sorry.
okay. Regardless, this is the Picard review. I trust.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, no, Q. Like even I think in the books before the movies, I think Bond had a Q. I'm not sure if like Q was like always built in there before the movies or not. Not sure. Regardless, Q, you can get anything you want. Kind of Shawshank meets James Bond, if you will. Okay. So, of course, yeah. So again, back to our climax again. We have the tension mounts. Very much it captures the tension of the ride as you're going up there, and it's like the service elevator trying to race up to the other elevator.
I
Um,
love the visual of the elevator actually in the shaft, Dragon. I don't know. There's just something so cool and so viscerally like very much on brand with the ride itself about that because the climax of the ride, you've got basically like the full view of the actual shaft as you're going up and down. It's not just complete darkness. So I don't know. I really, really dig that just visual detail. They just really went above and beyond with that.
yeah, no, they did. It does look great. We're like showing like, hey, hold on to this, and he just drops it. Like, oh man, it's a heck of a fall. Yeah, so ultimately, despite the whole like, I have this bracelet for you, sister. And it's like, oh, for
Oh,
me,
it's so
dude.
dumb. It's so fucking dumb. And of course it happens at like the perfect last minute, like yeah, all of that, Dragon, all of that, just PU, get it the hell out of there. I wish it wasn't in the
Yeah, leave that on the front lawn. I just walked in here.
uh-huh.
So, of course, ultimately, though, very nice ending. Where we make it to the Tip Top Club, and I think the proposal was like a little random because we just kind of made Gilbert really icy throughout the movie. Just like, no, I wanted to marry this. There's no love story there. We didn't have time for it. We kept
No, I
pairing him up.
totally, yeah, no, for sure. Again, I feel like that's another thing that the writer threw in that probably would have been better served in a 2-hour movie that wasn't a TV movie.
Yeah, at the very least, like, no, don't pair her with Gutenberg. Show her with Gilbert if you want to
Yeah,
build to a
at the
proposal
very
thing.
least have some sort of like friendly, like like basically like a rescuers down under style, romantic comedic rivalry or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, sure, yeah.
Anyways,
Also, again, his romance with the with his kind of reporter boss lady. It's like
the
that whole
reporter
thing,
boss lady is a useless character. I'm gonna come out and say it.
like all she does is like
Other than the
find out.
plot device of like getting him the actual job, Dragon, it's like the way she's used in the finale, she almost kind of reminds me of Jennifer in Back to the Future too. It's like
Yeah,
there's almost kind of like a meta quality of her like directly addressing the camera, like, I don't want to be here. Like,
she's only
why am I even involved with this shit at this point?
she only has one like role in the whole movie in which she basically has the big. I think it's not a great moment. It's the fact like, oh, she's psychotic. This geriatric. She's plotting revenge on a little girl who's long
Right,
dead.
right, yeah.
All that. So
No, you're right.
yeah,
She puts the pieces together as far as that mystery goes, for sure. And I guess in that instant, I guess the function she serves, like, and this is a very like mechanical function, and it's not a great storytelling function, but because a lot of our characters are in the actual hotel, we need to have someone on the outside actually investigating our villains. So
yep.
I don't know.
And also, you kind of notice this in the rewatch. Like, yeah, I think we killed the old woman because she's a little kid again at the tip top. So yeah, I think
Yeah, yeah,
yep.
yeah. I think technically, yeah.
Of course, we didn't have the guts to show it. We didn't have the guts to call it out. No, 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 no. No. I'm not critiquing. That's actually kind of beautiful. It's like, oh, well, had her plotline been a lot better. I mean, it would have been a better payoff. But still, it's like, okay, well, the sisters kind of reunited, and the embittered old lady, let it go, and now she's kind of made nicey nice with her sister. Only wish everything leading up to that wasn't crap.
Right.
But yeah, it's, we have the Melora Hardin doing a little musical number, which is nice, and everyone's getting closure. Like I believe the idea, and I could be wrong here. Tiki, correct me. The bellhop is like he meets his father when he's up there. Like he kind of gets like the old kind of thumbs up from Poppy, so to speak.
That's what I took it as. Yeah.
whether his boss or his father. I think the idea is like it's given the fact that Q is kind of in charge of the place. I think it's like a generationally handed down sort of thing. So I think that's what happened there. Regardless, so and then of course we have a great bit with Q at the end here, where it's like, hey, you know what this means, right? Because the whole 60-year mystery in quotes, because it's not really a mystery. It's just it's dead people. Not really a mystery as to how lightning struck, gone. But I mean, I don't really know like how much we need to figure out there. Cha-ching, and then of course we reopen with the music and everything. Get him in a suit and sunglasses, and yeah,
So I do really like the fact that they basically bring it full circle to again with the ride. This is a good adaptation choice of we had this is why the hotel is now staffed with bellhops and everything. You know what I mean?
yep,
So yeah. All right. Dre, at the end of the day, I honestly think what this comes down to, I don't think you and I are very far off on our opinion of this. I think what it comes down to is since I'm more familiar and am more of a fanboy of the ride than you are, I think I'm willing to give this more of a leeway because of the adaptation choices it makes. But yeah, I mean, certainly with the magic and all that stuff, it's not a great movie by any means. But I am genuinely interested to see what becomes of the Scarlett Johansson version, if that's even still on the table. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know what because that was obviously probably a lot. That was before things with the whole Black Widow movie happened, so I don't know where that's going.
Right, but then again, they fucking hired Jared goddamn Leto for the Haunted Mansion. Man, anyways, but
Any
you know
okay.
how I feel about
All right,
that.
temper it down a little, buddy. It's not, hey, let's just all right. But yeah, so it's overall, yeah. This again, it's a cute little TV movie, little kind of acorn of history. One could say it's like, okay, look at what we did in the beginning of things with the movies, with the attractions or movies. At least the attraction turned out rather nicely. Everything else, though, again, very much the beta, very much the prototype phase. So yeah,
All righty, cool, 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 cool. All right, folks, that's the end of tonight's spooky selection. And our spirits were weary, but they'll be stronger than next time. They'll be stronger than ever next time as we engage even more haunted holiday hijinks. How kind of you to
Daguda,
drop in. Sorry, go ahead.
Goot, Daguda.
The Goot! The Goot!